it looks like we have Bill Ottman in the call just in time for Bill. Are you there? Can you hear us? We were just about to start discussing a little bit of the idea for having a Minds crypto coin and why that could be beneficial. Basically, we're still hashing out and discussing all of the ideas behind the Minds coin. It's sort of a community effort, and that's why we're bringing it for all of us to sort of talk about and come up with better ideas, come up with ways of doing things that might surpass the way that Steemit and these other platforms are rewarding users with quotes around that. But so each day a fixed number of Minds coin is created and will be distributed to the users based on the performance metrics of their content with a diminishing return for more than X amount of posts per day. So basically this is the idea that a certain amount of coin will be generated every day on Minds and be distributed amongst quality content based on their performance metrics, which might be their upvotes and their reminds and things like that. We've already addressed that prior to making any of this a reality, we're going to have to end a lot of gamification on Minds, meaning that you wouldn't want to have a lot of somebody's bots vote up their own post so that they receive coin, because then they would be creating value but also diminishing value because it's being ruined. But so once all of these things are addressed and we can really get down to the bottom of Minds coin, it'll reward the users based on their metrics of a post, based on the amount of posts that they've posted in a day. If you post a lot of posts and maybe one of them gets a lot of impressions, they'll have sort of a decay based on the extensive amount of posts posted. But I just sort of wanted to explain the preface of where we're at. Bill, are you there? Do you have anything that has started you on the direction of Minds coin as crypto for Minds?
Yeah, definitely. We're hashing it out, and the key is to make it fair. I think that Steemit is an interesting experiment, but the criticism of it is totally warranted, and it's clearly controlled by a small number of quote-unquote whales, is what they're calling them, and it's only 10% proof of work, I think. So it's very centralized, very controlled by a small number of people, and it seems that the whales are rewarding influencers who come in to bring in more users. And there's a lot of things that I like about the idea, but it also seems like there's a lot that they're not talking about. So yeah, there's a lot of opportunity to keep creating more and more fair currencies, and that's what we're trying to do. Hello?
Yeah, the biggest thing for Minds all around is going to be fairness, and any sort of these platforms is going to be fairness. We sort of talked about how whales have vote power that can influence posts, and even their own posts for the amount that they're worth, based on how much they invested, and then that investment is basically locked in. But through explaining a little bit of accurately rewarding quality content on Minds, we sort of discussed a little bit of how we can quantify posts, and we kind of need to come up with I guess a definition for what is quality and what is worth earning a certain amount of coin, and what sort of mechanisms we can use for the user to spend coin within Minds, so that it goes back into the flow of currency.
Yeah, I think that there's definitely going to be a lot of specifics we need to hash out, because I would figure you would earn it through, as Raul said, views especially, but potentially also votes and comments and reminds. But then you run into many more issues with gaming, and you don't necessarily want to limit people's ability to, on Steemit you can only post like once every 5 minutes. So we sort of have to decide if we want the rewards of the coin to go maybe only for views. That I think would diminish the ability to game it, because views are a very natural stat that is hard to game, and ultimately views are, you know, pretty much the most powerful thing. I mean, whoever's creating the most views is going to be in a good position. But I think that votes and reminds and comments should potentially also come into it. It's just a matter of getting around the gaming.
Did anyone have a comment on gamification or where to move forward as far as Mindscoin potentially?
I mean, I think that the other issue with Steam is the very limited number of miners. It's not really, you know, it's nothing like Bitcoin. It's really, I think there might be, I don't remember how many, but there's only a few miners. And it was a lot of the...
Excuse me, I'm sorry, Bill. No, their hash rate and their difficulty isn't. No, that's another thing. I don't like Steam.
Who's talking?
My name's Johnny Quinn.
Hey.
Hey, would it be proof of work?
For mines?
Yeah.
Definitely significant proof of work. It has to be more than 50% proof of work.
Okay. And then, Jesus, man, kind of. Yeah, the gaming thing sucks. And then how would we mine? Would you do CPU? Would it be GNU? I mean, what would we do?
Well, the question is, do we do merge, or, you know, our own mining thing? And, you know, I'm actually really interested in merge mining, so we're sort of discussing that, because, you know, really, or it could be a hybrid. So we're having a lot of debates about it, but, you know, starting from scratch is really difficult, and then you run into problems like what Steemit's having. Establishing a huge mining community is no easy task.
No, absolutely not.
So merge mining, like Namecoin, very successful project, is merged with Bitcoin. Dogecoin's merge. There's lots of benefits of that.
Started talking about this, that there is so much new coin and technology going up, and we don't really have to create something all our own. We could use something else and then just kind of branch off.
No, I don't think that starting an entirely separate coin with all of our own mining makes really much sense, because it's really hard to establish. There's already lots of miners out there that we can harness, and we should harness them, because it empowers them and empowers us and keeps the system more fair. Because if you start from scratch, then you have a few people who get in early and dominate. Right. And there would be no way that we would be able to avoid that.
No, that.
Yeah, I mean, I think that originally when we started the point system planning, we were thinking about doing this, honestly, like a year and a half ago with crypto. But I'm pretty glad we didn't now, because we've learned a lot from the point system. And we've also learned a lot from the mistakes that other reward social networks are making. So we're able to watch and see what's going wrong. And it's pretty clear what's going to happen to Steemit. I think that they could potentially evolve and make changes to make the system better, but I don't know if you guys have watched any of those debates with, like, Tone Base and on the World Crypto Network. They've had some great debates about Steemit, and, you know, Tone is getting a lot of shit for his criticism, but it's really all about proof of work and sort of the haziness around what's really going on with these whales. But, you know, at the end of the day, I do appreciate the general idea. It's it's just seems like they're not really being too straightforward with what's really going on.
Yeah, it's a definitely a fancy user experience based around a profit model that they're going to hold up a lot of people's investments for a long period of time, and in the end, a lot of people are going to come out with nothing. But what we're looking at is actually creating value behind these ideas on mines, and so we have to look at accurately recording these things without gamification and actually rewarding the users what they deserve, which actually hasn't really happened yet on any other platform. So it's kind of a big feat, and it's something that we're going to have to sort of get rid of the human aspect of. Humans cannot be trusted ever in any position of power.
One of the successful things that we've really noticed with the boost and point system on mines is that anyone who puts work in can come out with exposure and can be rewarded. So, you know, even though we do have some people trying to sort of game the point system a little bit, you know, that's actually all positive work because, you know, people finding the holes, that helps refine the system. It also does generate site activity to a certain degree. It helps us de-game the site. But, you know, for people who don't have viral content, who want to get their word out there, it's much easier to do so on Mines than anywhere else. I mean, if you're active on Mines for a couple days, check in all the time, upload a bunch of content, you know, you're going to have enough of points to get some eyeballs on your posts. And the thing with Steemit is that there's nothing like that. There's no guarantee that you're going to be gaining visibility. It's really up to people with the currency to help you get that. So I really think that Mines is sort of more appealing to just the normal person who deserves to have their voice heard.
Can mining be tied to actions within Mines itself? I mean, I know that it's sort of a gaming kind of concept, but just the actual mining of the coins coming into existence.
Yeah, I think that that's what it would be. It would be some sort of hybrid proof of work, proof of stake system where part of it is, you know, running with maybe on a merge mine, and then the rest of it is generated through site activity, views, success, that kind of stuff.
Do you think it's possible to fork an existing coin for utilization?
Yeah, I do. It's all, but I'm not sure specifically right now which one, and it's probably going to be more custom. But we'll definitely have to fork something.
I was thinking Feathercoin is something that I've been following, and I'm not sure that it has the same kind of mechanics because I think it's based on a different kind of proof. But that was one that was interesting to me. Yeah,
we've got a couple people hashing out some white papers right now, like very deeply. So, and I don't have those yet, so I'll make sure to update you guys as soon as we get those and as soon as we start the dev. But to me, this is a huge priority, probably near the top of my list for the next initiatives. Right now, we're putting a lot of energy into monetization. I mean, I think that monetization is really the future of the most successful platforms on the internet. Whichever site is able to reward the users the best, from tools like rewarding with cryptocurrency to crowdfunding to, you know, typical monetization like YouTube and running ads over your content. I think that's all fair game, and whichever network does it the best and gives people the most options is going to come out on top. So that's definitely our priority.
Is there an objective to potentially replace Minds Points as they are, or to run a cryptocurrency with a token in parallel?
It would be alongside. I don't think there would be a need to get rid of points. I think you would earn both. And you could potentially buy points with the crypto too. Because the point system is quite different. It sort of serves a different purpose for boosting, as opposed to, you know, with crypto you can earn it and then you can cash out. And I don't think we would want to put nearly the barriers in place like Steemit has for cashing out. That all seems pretty shady. I mean, I understand they have to protect themselves, but it just seems like if the system had real integrity, then it should allow you to cash out whenever you want.
That just gives them time to run to Acapulco before everybody catches them.
Right. Though,
So-
you know, I've listened to some interviews with them, and you know, they're, you know, it's a profit motive, like GovSpider said, and you know, some people look at it from the perspective of, oh, they should be creating the most fair system, or other people give them the benefit of the doubt and say, look, they're a startup, they're trying to make money, they're in, you know, there's nothing necessarily wrong with making money, and you know, they're doing something unique. It's just, it shouldn't be hailed as like the next evolution in internet rewards, because it's clearly based in a profit motive. What ends up being the next evolution in internet monetization is going to be something that is totally fair. So it is a step in the right direction, I think, and you know, but that's all it is. I don't think it's you don't want to give them more or less credit than they deserve.
Yeah, it sort of correlates to our original thing with the straw man, is that it's worth giving energy to understand, but also at the same time not worth committing all of our energy to as the end all be all. But there's definitely a lot of these platforms out there, and we sort of stick to our own. They sort of stick to our own. People on C-Line sort of stick to their own. And a big point that I try to always make is that we're all going to have to come together to create this ultimate platform that we're trying to generate, this platform of fairness. I don't think there's a way to achieve it without everyone on board.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that there are ways to collaborate with Steemit, with whatever other network out there. We can create federation bridges. We can do plugins. We can sync up. There's no reason not to do that. And I think, I'm not sure, is Steemit.com open source yet? I'm not sure if it is.
I actually don't know. All I'm aware of that's fully open is their blockchain is the main feature, that anyone can go and download the blockchain and all activities on the network.
Yep. I think that is a pretty cool thing, and I think they're storing text on their blockchain as well. So they are able to curate the main feed in Steemit.com if, you know, crazy stuff gets trending that they feel uncomfortable with, but it is uncensorable on the blockchain. So I think that is pretty cool. That's something that we don't really have, which I think that uncensorability, I'm not sure if blockchain is really the right place for it, but creating uncensorability is really important. Because you can't store, I think there's a tool called IPFS, Interplanetary File System or something, and that maybe can help add more content to the blockchain, like rich content. I might be pulling that out of my ass, but you know, that's another important issue. So a blockchain is definitely going to help minds, and we'll get there. talks about voting. I mean, do you think that you should even earn a point for voting? Some people have been criticizing the fact that if you earn points for voting, then it kind of skews the vote. Because if you earn points for voting, then people might not. I think that that's rarely happening. I think that if you're going to spend the time to vote on something, then you kind of want to vote on it. But it does sort of take away some of the integrity of the actual vote.
I have always thought that votes should cost points, whether they're positive or negative, and it would make the gamification of farming points less harmful if people were farming them so that they could vote on more things, and then those votes wouldn't positively affect them. They couldn't just spam down an entire list, just voting or downvoting to gain points for themselves.
Yeah. I think that that's how it should work with the crypto, but there's something really good about earning something for everything that you do. It's every action, this idea of earning something for every action you take. I mean, you're putting energy into the network. Every piece of energy that you put in is helping the network to a degree. So we could potentially keep the points as they are and then have it structured the other way for the crypto. Because I do believe that every click matters, and to get some sort of reward for that is kind of nice. Even though it is a little bit gameable.
Yeah, I really think we can sort of embrace the devaluation of the points and move forward with that and take them less seriously.
Right.
Sort of embrace gamification and just mainly make it about views, and then put the actual value behind the currency would probably be the way to go. That sounds better.
You have to separate boosted views from organic views, because then you could potentially boost with points that you gained and then earn the crypto for the views. So we have to separate different organic views versus boosted views, but that's not really that big a deal.
Okay, yeah, no, I see that, because that makes sense, because then even though you've boosted, the only extra potential you have is maybe someone else reminding your boosted piece, and then it getting views from there. Would probably be your only benefit. But yeah, if the views from boosts aren't counted, that would definitely help out with making that fair.
I'm wondering if it could be called something different, because it might be thought of as unfair if you boosted your votes and you didn't get the views. Maybe it could be considered not the same thing.
Like a totally different type of view.
Exactly. Yeah. Like you have views that you get paid for, and then you have something else.
Yeah, that might be easier, actually.
Johnny or Stone Archer, did you have any comments on Mindscoin?
Tweak my sound setting there a little bit. Yeah, I wanted to say that I brought it up a little bit earlier, but just sort of wanted to reiterate a little bit about the research that I began to do. If I were to have any sort of meaningful collaboration on the coin for Minds, that what came back again and again was sort of what I called a sort of a large what not to do list that I was basically feeding from Steemit. But I can include that in my notes. Basically, the main point of it being that, and I know that mine sounds like would head in a different way with this, but as far as the even distribution versus Steemit's whale method, which I see as the largest issue that will ultimately be the largest problem for Steemit. Well, one of them, I do have some other thoughts about that, but I did listen to that interview with Tone Base, and I loved it. I think that he had great points about his misgivings with regard to with regard to Steam. But with regards to Mindscoin, I liked and will keep this in my notes as well. The idea that you, Bill, brought up about Federation bridges and how that would ultimately benefit mines because the bridges that are created are bringing people to mines. And I think that at some point there are going to be a lot of people dissatisfied with Steem as certain things. I don't want to say I'm predicting it, but there will be certain things that will happen that will make a large amount of people dissatisfied with that platform. I do see that happening, and keeping those bridges open. I absolutely agree with you on that. That's a great way to look at it.
What have we got? 104 days before we find some seriously disgruntled Steemit users.
Why do you say why 104 days?
104 weeks is what it takes to power down and cash out.
Oh, right. Yeah, so many people are signing up with really no idea what they're getting into, and they don't understand how it's actually working behind the scenes. They just see people making money and think that that is going to happen to them, but they're actually propping up something that doesn't really have any legs. So, you know, you don't want to point fingers and call the creators of it, you know, like they're behind a Ponzi scheme or something, but I don't think that it's really as transparent as it needs to be. I think that at least in the sign-up flow, it should be more clear what is really going on and what you're getting yourself into. And I have heard them say things like, oh, you shouldn't really think of it as a currency. It's more of, you know, like speculation and, you know, kind of more of a point system. But I just don't think that they're really being clear enough, and people think that they have all this money in their Steem account, but they just don't. If they were more clear, then it would be much more okay. I mean, because as long as people know what they're signing up for, then there's really not much problem with it. It's more of a game system.
Exactly. It's really going with the assumption with that nobody's going to read into the white papers or their terms or how they're going to get paid. They just know that there are dollar amounts next to posts, and they're striving to achieve that. It's creating a lot of quality content, as we said, but these users are really going to get they're not going to get what they're expecting by any means. And I really do think that Lee's right that within a little over a year or so, we're going to really see a lot of people with a lot of problems about Steem coming out.
Well, and the influencers that they're bringing in, you know, they're feeling great right now because some of them are making tens of thousands of dollars, but they're going to feel kind of shitty in a year when they brought all these people in and they sort of are going to realize that they played a role in propping up something that doesn't have a spine. So, you know, it seems like even they're sort of being manipulated. But, you know, I really don't want to hate, because when I first saw Steemit, I was pretty excited about it. And I appreciate social that rewards users, that wants to reward users on some level. So, yeah, but it can be done better. And it would be cool if they were just more out in the open, having more discussions about it. I think that the founders, I haven't heard much from them in the last few weeks. I really don't. I think that whatever emerges as the ultimate, most fair, awesome reward system is going to on its own, and I don't really think we have to worry too much about competition and stuff like that. It's really much more collaborative. Even just observing what's happening to Steemit is super important for Minds and other sites that are developing reward systems. So, you know, and ultimately, if we can all build federation bridges so that, if someone posts on Steam, it posts on Minds. If someone posts on Minds, it posts on Steam and Diaspora and all of these other decentralized social networks. That's really where things need to go. And each network is going to have its own benefits and its own special features and its own currency, in the same way that many different countries have, their own currencies, and you travel around and you spend this there and you have a bunch of different currencies. So it's not really a one ring to rule them all type endgame. In fact, that's not what we want. So, but it's sort of counterintuitive, because typically people think, oh, what's going to be the next Facebook? What's going to be the next Google? Is Steemit going to, get bigger than Reddit? But it's really not about that. That's not how the internet is going to evolve. Yes, there are going to be big social networks, and there's going to be a handful, but it's not really a race in that sense.
I suppose that was my biggest disappointment with the whole Steemit, is that, I've spent my time on Minds for the last little bit, and I've been on Twitter, and I've been on Google+. I kind of avoided Facebook. I did have an account there, but I can't get on it with my Linux machine. But that I wasn't able to get on Steemit, and I'd spent all this time online. Like they were, funneling me down to these two platforms, and I didn't really spend a whole lot of time on Reddit. I read a lot of Reddit articles. I just don't comment and get involved in the community. But it just seemed like a big, punishment, just because I wasn't on their platforms.
Wait, what do you mean? You were punished because you didn't get in there early?
No, punished because I wasn't a Facebook user.
You can't register an account on Steemit without a validated Facebook account or positive karma on Reddit.
Oh, I was able to sign up because I think they're having scaling issues, actually. You used to be able, I signed up for Steemit just with my email address. I think they disabled that because they're having back-end scaling issues. So the fact that they're using Facebook and Reddit authentication kind of shows that they have some infrastructural problems. If you can't sign up with only an email address, then that means something weird is going on. They disabled that because I think their system went down.
Interesting.
Because third-party authentication, it's actually kind of sketchy, to be honest. The point of an independent social network is for the social network to be independent of Facebook or Reddit. I mean, Reddit auth is not bad because at least Reddit is open source. But hopefully they'll add back their own authentication.
Yeah, I mean, I tried to use Google, my Google address, several times. It's been not even a confirmation. And like I said, I have a Linux machine now, and I can't access my Facebook account, which is really strange. And then, of course, when I signed up to a Reddit account and got a few of their karma points, it wasn't enough to sign up. So that's the unfairness, because I've spent quite a bit of time online in developing my pseudonym, and it just seems like, wow, I think they mentioned that they're like doing it in waves. They're going to take on another wave at some point, and maybe I'll get a confirmation in 6 months. Who knows?
Yeah, I wouldn't worry about it. I mean, the fact that they're limiting their own growth means that they're having scaling problems, because there would be no reason to not be letting everybody in. They were letting everybody in. So I'm definitely curious what's going on there.
Excuse me. I think it's on purpose, because that Steam is traded openly, and they have to be very careful on monitoring the actual value of Steam on the outside, as opposed to all these new people coming in, putting money in on a constantly fluctuated market. Plus, too, Facebook, you can't trust that. That's not good either. There's probably something there too, but they have to be very careful on the currency exchanges, and and that you have to wait so long to pay the post because the price is constantly changing and fluctuating as is. And they purposely have drove the price down of Steam. I mean, you can go back and you can look at the last 6 months, and it's clockwork that they go in and a big buyer comes in. They even have a name, and there was actually an article on Steam by a guy on Steam about it, and they had, I can't remember the name, that you can go, because you can go back and look at the books and everything, the order books, and it's clockwork. And they purposely drove down the price of Steam, and they're going to keep going, like you said, the power down, but they're going to keep going until it's pennies, and the people are going to still be signing up. People are going to still be putting in dollars, and it's not going to be there, and out the door they go.
This is probably. Oh, I was going to say.
Sorry, I will call them. It is a pyramid scheme. I'll call them that. It's a Ponzi. I don't trust any of them. I'll say that.
That's the most interesting part of this, I think, as far as the study of Steemit is that what does trading, the coin that's a part of the social network, do to the value of it? Because I think that's going to be the most interesting, thing that we can watch for Steemit and possibly any other social network that's going to be using a reward coin that can be traded on an exchange for dollars. So that's because the exchanges that they're getting, manipulated by the whales and of the the books.
Yeah, as we roll this out, we need to peer review it as much as possible. Once we get our initial white paper done, we need to bring in all these people like Tone Vays and others criticizing Steem and other Bitcoin crypto experts, because once you launch the coin, you can't change it. And if you do, you're getting into muddy water, which you really don't want to, like what's happened to Ethereum with all their forking. And it just, you have to get it right. And if you don't, then you're in for trouble. And even still, even if you don't change it and you put it out there, there's just so much pressure when you're launching currency, dealing with people exchanging money. I'm really glad that we didn't do it up front. When Steem came out, I was like, oh, damn it, what? I knew that we needed to, launch the crypto, but at the same time, we have to be patient with it, because if we don't do it exactly right, in exactly the most fair way possible, then it could cause huge problems. And with the regulatory stuff, you don't know what's going to happen either.
Yeah, you're very right about how you can't really change the policies of crypto after they've been launched. Nobody's going to want to really touch Ethereum or the new fork of the DAO anytime soon. People are already scared away from exchanges and Bitcoin in general for large investors, just because of some of these more misfortunes in the crypto community. And I think they have a lot to do with affecting future products and future platforms that come out, because people are not so eager to fall into another scam.
And I don't think that the DAO meant, I don't think their intentions were bad. It's too bad that they forked. It's a really interesting experiment in crowdfunding. But yeah, people have much less confidence in the space after that happened, and it's pretty disappointing, because the nature of evolution of software is that shit like that happens. You can't catch everything. I mean, even the Linux, you see security vulnerabilities. At least once a year, a new one is found. So it gets really tricky, because you want to be able to fix those problems. But when you have many people already invested in a current stack, then changing the system causes problems. So it's sort of a tough thing.
You have to patch all the holes in the boat before you take it sailing, or you're just going to sink. Johnny Stone Archer, Dagwood, did you have any comments in the direction of Minescoin improving off of Steemit and creating fairness?
I think you guys are on to some great things. I'm not sure about. I kind of like Boost. I can appreciate with gaming, and but I think if Boost were limited in some way, points. If points were limited in some way, that you're gonna just easily acquire points all the time, then I don't think it would be wrong necessarily to boost something and still have that connected. As long as you had a way of limiting points, then you couldn't manipulate that yourself. But I think in the same breath, we can't just appreciate. I mean, it's a great idea to think that just because you have good content, it will get seen. Well, that of course isn't true. And boosts are a way of getting yourself out there, and it is self-promotion. So I don't think that's wrong, because like you said, it's not wrong to make money. But some people, as far as views, I mean, are we going to all keep the views we have as is when this thing gets rolled out? Of course, because as we say that, some of us sit much higher than others. I mean, are we all going to just start at zero and work our way up again? I mean, there's some risky, it's just something to talk about. But I don't think having points necessarily connected, disconnected is necessarily right either. But that's just my opinion.
Yeah, I think we'll start fresh when we launch it. So you won't lose your views that you had, but I don't think, for instance, I have a lot of views on my channel. I don't plan on, just because I have a lot of views, taking a lot of the coin. I think that the system, everyone should start even. But there's a lot of specifics. It's extremely complex. So hopefully I'll have a new doc for everyone to see in the next couple weeks, and we can really start breaking it down into dev tasks and getting it going. I gotta hop in a few minutes.
Hey man, thanks a lot for coming by. This is really exciting though, regardless. But I appreciate all the time and the work, man. I really do. Thank you.
No, honestly, you guys, I can't even express how important and awesome it is to have you involved and a part of Minds. It's you guys are the key part of the network. So everyone who's on here, everyone who's listening, thanks so much. And especially if you know any developers you think might want to get involved now that all the code is open source, please throw them my way. We're already getting some really great interest from some very talented programmers, and the more the merrier, because if we can get a dozen or 2 dozen really talented developers going at this, the pace of our growth and the pace of our development is going. We have 3 guys going full-time now, but if we had like a fleet of developers, it's just, I can't even imagine how fast we will move. Like, we could see upgrades happening at just an exponential rate. So thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah, thanks for stopping by, man.
Thanks for coming in.
Thanks, Bill.
All right, guys, it looks like we're just over that hour-and-a-half mark. We might start to wrap things up. If anyone has any finishing statements on sort of Steemit, Minescoin, or even the origins we started in Strawman, that'd be awesome. John, we'll start with Johnny, go Lee Travis, Dagwood, and then Stone Archer, and then back to me to finish it off.
Yeah. Well, what fun. Hey, Lee, if you want to shoot me your an email on the Minds thing, whatever, man, I will send you everything I got about international permits and all kinds of other stuff. I'll just send it to you, and then you can just go through it at your own leisure. This is another good panel. That's cool. Bill came by. That's cool. Man, it's exciting. This is an exciting time. And we'll just, I wish I was a developer, man. I wish I was a programmer. I wish I would have went to school and did something cool, man. Yeah, fuck. We should probably, read that, Lee. Go. I'll send you everything I got, man, and we could maybe do something again afterwards. But yeah, jeez, mine's crypto. Maybe. I don't know. I really don't. That's a lot to wrap your head around. I'm excited though. But hey, thanks for having me, guys, and I'll see you on the next time.
Looks like Lee cut out there. I'd just like to say, yeah, it was a great discussion today. Different topics I'll be chiming in more on later. I do want to throw in a plug for a name for the Minds Crypto. I think we should base it on or call it the Lumen. But I'll turn it over to Stone Archer with that.
Okay, duly noted. I'll put that in the old good book. Thanks, you guys. This has been a really wonderful discussion tonight. Really appreciate the fact that Bill stopped by. He had some great input. All of you did. It's been a really awesome time listening to everything everyone had to say. And as far as more information, Johnny, about the IDPs, I'd be very interested to know. I've done a little bit of research on them myself, but I just briefly in that realm, I do have the standpoint that there are certain things that I kind of don't want to just give my time to, so I don't end up spending a lot of time researching them. It probably isn't the best idea to not know things just simply because I want to set them aside and not sort of lend them my time. But it really all kind of stemmed originally with me with a few thoughts, but one of them was that when I found out that marriage licenses were concocted by a eugenicist that just simply wouldn't, came up with a system where they wouldn't grant license of marriage to certain people unless they fit a certain ethnic profile. That was sort of one of the first things that opened my eyes to not asking permission. I guess I would say I do come from the same standpoint that I would rather ask forgiveness, but not have to ask anything at all. But I'm also always interested in the topic. So any information you want to share is great. And thanks so much, you guys, for coming on. And I will turn it over.
Thanks for everyone for being here. I really identify with what Johnny and sort of what Bill said. We kind of, as far as Bill said, that if we had more developers, if we had a lot more programmers on the team, we'd really be moving a lot faster. And it sort of goes down to the Minds panel and all the people that dedicate their energy to things like this. We really propel these ideas, not only the project of Minds, but these ideas throughout this ecosystem of an alternative platform that we're in. We really propel it all forward, and it really is us, and it really does take our ideas to make this happen. Thanks for everyone for being here. It was awesome that Bill stopped by. It's been a great show, and hopefully we can reconvene about Minds Crypto and speculate on the direction Steemit's heading. But this has been a great show, guys. GovSpiders, checking out later.